Hi there. Thank you so much for pressing play. I hope that wherever you are having a beautiful day. It is a bright and sunny August day here in London, and I'm so excited to get to talk to you. My name is Ryan. I make music under the name Sleeping at Last, and this is the Sleeping at Last podcast.
Oh, thank God for language. Thank God for love.
Today, I am so excited to talk to you about two brand new songs, Doubt and Believe. As you can guess, they are both related to one another, which is what I call sibling songs, and they both belong to my Atlas 3 project. But before we get started, I wanted to share that I've recently announced an upcoming show in Chicago. It's a holiday show alongside the absolutely wonderful Chicago Philharmonic, and we will play a collection of songs from my Christmas albums, as well as songs from all of my projects. So it will be so much fun and kind of like a half and half Christmas, half regular kind of show. And in addition to the full orchestra, I will also have a full choir, which is going to be amazing. November 29th at the Auditorium in Chicago, which is such a beautiful space. I hope to see you and your family there. Tickets are on sale now, and I will put a link in the show notes. All right, let's go ahead and dive in and talk about Doubt and Believe. First, we're going to go ahead and listen to Doubt in its entirety, and I'll see you on the other side.
Talk is cheap. Show me what you believe. What do you make of such a violent history? The poster reads, Heaven waits. Sign up for guarantees. I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as certainty. I suppose faith and doubt are two sides of the same coin in this mystery. Who are we to question? Who are we to answer? Like it's a matter of heads or tails. I don't want to lose this, and I don't want to forget. There could be magic behind the veil. Beyond perception, poor signal lost in translation. There could be something there. What do we know about the heavens and below? We're only kids trying on our parents' clothes. We've got their maps, and we'll make some all our own. But in the end, we belong to a lineage of lost souls. As the coin flips, we just can't help it. We'll always predict how it all unfolds. Who are we to question? Who are we to answer? Like it's a matter of heads or tails. I don't want to lose this, and I don't want to forget. There could be magic behind the veil. Who are we to question? Who are we to answer? Like it's a matter of heads or tails. I don't want to lose this, and I don't want to forget. There could be magic behind the veil, like the secret ingredient in some sacred recipe. As it turns out, my unholy doubt is the very thing that helps me believe.
First, I would love to share about the recording of this song, which was one of the most magical and special recording experiences I have personally ever had in my years of making music. I knew that as I was writing both Doubt and Believe, that I wanted to be really intentional with where I recorded each song. And so I really love this idea of recording Doubt somewhere sacred. And I love the idea of recording Believe somewhere mundane. And so when I wrote Doubt, I immediately thought of the Union Chapel in London. Earlier last year, 2024, I played my very first London show ever, and it was actually at Union Chapel, which is this absolutely stunning venue. It is a working church and a center for social justice initiatives, and it moonlights as this incredibly special music venue in the evenings. So I remember arriving at Union Chapel before the show and just completely in awe of the entire space. And before the sound system was even turned on, just noticing how stunning the acoustics were in that space. And it just has the most amazing natural reverb. So anyway, fast forward a bunch of months later, I finished writing Doubt, and I sheepishly asked if there's any chance of sneaking into Union Chapel someday to record my song there. And I was so surprised, but the wonderful folks at Union Chapel graciously said yes. And Union Chapel is not a recording studio, and it's not something that they typically allow. So I feel so honored that they made an exception for me to record this song there. I went out on another limb and asked my friend Gordon Davidson, who works at Abbey Road, if there was any way that I could hire him off-site and record this song at Union Chapel. Again, I was just so honored that he said yes and brought along some absolutely incredible mics and gear to capture this recording. It was all super last minute, and we were allowed just a couple hours to get it all recorded. So it was this wonderful mad dash to get everything set up, get takes of the song, and then to get it all taken down and packed up in time. It was just this really, really special blur of a morning. And I just remember how special it felt to sing this song, exploring my faith and my doubt and my questioning in this sacred space, in this place built for worship. So all of the reverb that you hear in this recording was Union Chapel. Not a single drop of reverb or plugins were added into the recording. It is just the natural space.
Talk is cheap. Show me what you believe.
I recorded it live with just guitar and vocals, and all of that spacious sound you hear is just how Gordon recorded it. Union Chapel is near several busy streets, so if you listen close, you can hear all sorts of traffic and ambulance sirens and noises in the backdrop, and all of it felt exactly right for this song. I so loved getting to sit there and play this song. It felt like everything kind of was just in its right place, and that's a rare feeling to have. Very grateful. A massive thank you to Union Chapel team for allowing me to record Doubt there, and to Gordon for recording it all so beautifully. It is forever a very special memory for me. When I was writing and thinking through Doubt and Believe, these two sides of faith, I decided to write them as simple singer-songwriter, acoustic guitar folk songs. And that is because I wanted to emphasize the humanity of that like divine tension between believing and doubting. And so acoustic guitar and voice felt like the right sort of humble tools to use. And that simplicity sort of felt like the right way to bring the lyrics and the vocal to the front and center. Doubt has super simple guitar chords in standard guitar tuning, because sometimes doubt feels effortless. It can be easy to doubt. And so I wanted the song to kind of feel that way too. So there's these easy chords, whereas believing in something requires a bit of hard work. So I wrote Believe with uncomfortable and complicated guitar chords in a kind of complicated guitar tuning, which I will get into a little bit later. So one of my absolute favorite aspects of making Atlas, this 80-song concept album, essentially, which is completely wild to realize, by the way. I don't think I had totaled the amount of Atlas songs until recently and realized that it's once it's all finished, it will be 80 songs. But anyway, one of my great joys in making this is the research. I've mapped out all of the Atlas themes well before writing any of the songs, and so as I began to write each song, it was just incredibly fun to read as much as I can about that theme, or to watch documentaries and just go down infinite rabbit holes of information and just to try to sponge as much insight as I can. And all of that just comes out as inspiration. And so for each song, I write it all through my own personal lens, but first it starts with that research. However, with these two songs, Doubt and Believe, I decided to only look inward and examine my own relationship to faith. It's funny because of all of the themes that I write about, faith is by far my favorite thing to explore in writing songs. I think it's because there's just an infinite amount of questions to ask, ideas to think through, and just things to say. So I love it. And I think the vocabulary of lyric and metaphor, poetry and melody, it's really the only way I know how to talk about God. But outside of songs, talking about my faith is definitely more challenging. And I think that's because common language feels a bit small or limiting and clunky. Not to mention just it's charged with sensitivity and all of the religious baggage that each of us bring into the conversation. So talking out loud about my faith it just feels unnatural and a little bit awkward to me. So needless to say, I was a bit nervous to press record on this episode, but like all things, I will fumble my way through and hope that somehow there's a little bit of sense that can be made. I went back and forth in my head about whether or not Doubt or Believe should be first in the order of when they release. And the first train of thought was doubt is the opposite of believing, and believing is the opposite of doubt. So surely Believe would be first so that there was something to doubt. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that that's actually totally not true. Doubt and belief are not opposites at all. They're both a necessary and healthy dimension of faith. And this thought is what inspired this lyric.
I suppose faith and doubt are two sides of the same coin in this mystery.
So the idea that doubt and belief are so intertwined made me decide to order the songs with doubt first to kind of set up this idea, and believe second to expand on it. Also, a total side note, the original titles for these two songs were actually Doubt and Faith, but then I remembered that I recorded a cover of George Michael's gorgeous song, Faith, and then I realized how absolutely confusing that would be, that there are two different songs coming up under the same name. So the word believe made way better sense. As I touched on a little earlier, for me, doubt and skepticism is a little bit more fluid than belief. It's easier, especially when it comes to any form of organized religion. And I'm sure that is a defense mechanism in me, something protecting me from the fear of being taken advantage of. And I'm sure that it's all related to my own religious baggage that I'm still figuring out how to let go of. Because of this, I was a bit surprised at how quickly the first lyrics kind of fell out of me when I began to write Doubt.
Talk is cheap. Show me what you believe. What do you make of such a violent history? The poster reads, Heaven waits. Sign up for guarantees. I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as certainty.
That last line, I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as certainty, it is about something I've thought a lot about. When it comes to matters of spirituality or religion, no argument can be won. That is a fact. One of the definitions of the word faith is a firm belief in something for which there is no proof. And so when I think about all the violence and the wars and the relationship breakdowns that have all happened because of differing beliefs in things that we are not meant to prove, it's really humbling and angering. And that anger is something that I wanted to sort through in this song. Even though the anger is often just, it so easily can lead to despair or cynicism. And it can also just close down the absolutely beautiful gifts of faith. So the chorus lyric sort of gets at this idea.
Who are we to question? Who are we to answer? Like it's a matter of heads or tails. I don't want to lose this, and I don't want to forget there could be magic behind the veil.
And the line, I don't want to lose this, that has double meaning. It means that I don't want to lose the argument, but it also means I don't want to lose the thread of my own faith and my own openness to mystery. Originally, the chorus lyric was going to be, who am I to question and who are you to answer?
Who am I to question? Who are you to answer? Like it's a matter.
And as I shared the early version of the song with some family and my manager, I gathered my manager, I think, was the one to note that it sounded a little angry, and I kind of realized that this is maybe a little too rooted in the idea of us versus them, and maybe it was a little too angry sounding. So I switched it to be a little bit more inclusive, which is who are we to question and who are we to answer, which made so much more sense of like the sentiment of the whole song. As I mentioned, both of these songs, Doubt and Believe, were written as simple acoustic folk songs. And the idea is that the voice and the lyric is the focal point. But in thinking through the production of these two songs, in addition to keeping it really simple, I wanted there to be these little musical like highlights throughout, sort of like a neon highlighter marker. But I would essentially use these sounds to highlight certain moments and lyrics throughout each song. So that's what I was trying to do with these little added musical layers. And so I invited my friend and one of the most gifted musicians I've ever encountered, Ryan Francesconi, who added some gorgeous electric guitars. And some tambora layers. He was kind enough to send over these really gorgeous flurries of sound so that I could layer them underneath specific moments and lyrics that I was trying to highlight. So an example of this is when I sing the word mystery.
And this mystery.
Or when I sing heads or tails, the tambora sort of bounces back and forth to kind of give this flipping of the coin feel.
Of heads or tails.
I was imagining these layers from Ryan as sort of the sound of doubt. There's a really gorgeous tension and dissonance in these guitar tambora layers that I felt embodied doubt so beautifully, kind of sneaking in and out of the song. And later in Doubt, there's an undercurrent of cello that enters and sort of glues the chords together. Which was, of course, played by my longtime collaborator and the always wonderful Sharon Gerber. In that same sort of highlighter pen or marker idea, I wanted the cello to sound like the possibility of heaven, like light coming in. So cello represents belief in this song. And it's meant to highlight the belief and hope that I'm singing about in these final lyrics of the song.
I don't want to lose this, and I don't want to forget there could be magic behind the veil.
So the guitar and tambora flurries represent the beautiful tension of doubt, and the cello represents belief. And as we'll talk about in a moment, in the song Believe, the cello returns and becomes the belief highlighter marker for that song. And a huge thanks to Ryan and Sharon for lending me their incredible gifts on Doubt. It is such a joy to get to make music with them. There's a couple things I wanted to point out in the middle verse of this song.
What do we know about the heavens and below?
First, what do we know about the heavens and below? There is a parallel lyric in Believe, the song that we'll talk about in a minute, that is, thank God for heaven or whatever waits above. Both lyrics have a bit of doubt and belief in them. In the song Doubt, I say, "What do we know about the heavens and below?" which felt like it has this slightly skeptical or pessimistic tone. And then in Believe, "Thank God for heaven or whatever waits above." It feels slightly more hopeful and optimistic. So to reflect this idea of these kind of parallel lyrics, I like the juxtaposition of the words above and below. I've probably whined about this before in the podcast, but the most challenging aspect of writing songs for me is writing lyrics. I put such a critical microscope on everything that I write, and it takes so long for me to feel like what I'm writing doesn't suck. There's just such a special opportunity in writing lyrics where you can say an infinite amount of things with so few words. And I just love that challenge. I also completely hate that challenge because sometimes it feels like an impossible jigsaw puzzle to solve. But to me, lyrics are at their best when they say huge things with small words. The lyric in this song that I'm most proud of is, "We're only kids trying on our parents' clothes."
We're only kids trying on our parents' clothes.
This is a rare lyric for me where it says a million personal things in as simply and visually as possible. This lyric is about tradition. It's about parenthood and childhood. It's about not having any clue what any of us are doing. It's about our parents not having any clue what they're doing. It's about humility, unoriginality, family baggage, evolution. It sort of fits it all in. And I was grateful when this line sort of rolled out. As I mentioned in previous episodes, the songs and the themes of Atlas 3 are loosely ordered around the idea of spiral dynamics. And if you're unfamiliar with what spiral dynamics is, here is a brief overview. Spiral dynamics is a model of human development first introduced by Dr. Clare Graves in the 20th century. And then later it was expanded on by Dr. Don Beck and Christopher Cohen. Graves suggested that human beings and societies don't evolve in a straight line, but unfolding layers like a spiral. So each new layer represents a shift in sort of how we see the world and how we answer life's most difficult questions. Who are we? How do we belong? What matters? So these stages are often called V-memes or value systems. Each carry their own color, symbolizing a very distinct worldview. Importantly, no stage is better or worse than another. They're just simply different ways of making sense of the world. Each absolutely necessary, and each is a response to challenges in life. So with the songs Doubt and Believe, we are entering in what is called the blue V-meme. Blue is described as the stage of order, structure, and meaning. After like the survival instincts of beige and the tribal safety of purple, and then the power-seeking impulse of red, blue arrives as a sort of response to chaos. It says there's a ways that things are meant to be, and there's a higher order that can guide us if we follow it. This is where organized religion often takes root, is in blue. Rituals, sacred texts, moral codes, all of this become the kind of these anchors of stability. In blue, the world makes sense because there is a clear right and wrong, a cosmic pattern that we can trust. Life gains meaning through obedience to that pattern, whether expressed in religious faith, cultural traditions, or just a deep respect for law and duty. In a nutshell, I think blue is a response to human ache. It's the longing for meaning. It's the hope for order in the midst of chaos. And so with these two songs, Doubt and Believe, we begin that blue theme in Atlas 3. And so now the color blue is introduced into the paintings that are the cover art for both Doubt and Believe, painted by Alicia Edejanto, my absolute favorite painter in the world. She truly is such an incredible talent, and I am so fortunate that all of the Atlas 3 and Atlas 2 artwork was by Alicia Edejanto. And I wanted to read you a little bit of her just absolutely beautiful and thoughtful description of the two paintings that represent both Doubt and Believe. The curtain resembles something that conceals the secret and mystery. Behind the curtain, there's the magic. Star-like lights are associated with something divine and sacred, and can also symbolize guidance towards higher values and virtues. The man and woman in doubt are walking in the direction from the dark towards the light. The woman is unveiling the curtain, an expression of seeking meaning, seeking something larger than ourselves. the man is glancing backwards. This gesture implies a moment of hesitation or doubt. Despite that, he keeps moving forward. In Believe, the position of the humans changes. They are now on the other side of the curtain, the opposite side of doubt, fully embracing and reaching out to the lights in a more accepting and believing body language. Alicia, it really is so brilliant. And when I get an email when she sends me one of these paintings for the first time, it is usually accompanied by descriptions like that and what she meant in the gorgeous work that she sends. I think this feels like the right moment to begin talking about the song Believe. So let's go ahead and listen to Believe, and I will talk to you on the other side.
Oh, thank God for language. Thank God for love. Thank God for heaven, or whatever waits above. Thank God for belonging. Thank God for breath. Thank God for this mystery ever unfolding before death. I believe in a number of uncertainties, like one day I will be redeemed. I'm briefly stuck here in between. Oh, I believe in the limits of what I can perceive, in the absolute of sacred things nearly felt but never seen. Oh, thank God for questions. Thank God for pain. Thank God for the teachers who aren't afraid to change. Thank God for mercy. Thank God for time. Thank God for this body, though it's not quite convinced it's alive. I believe in a number of uncertainties, like one day I'll meet eternity, and my mother's there waiting for me. I believe light prevails eventually, in the absolute of sacred things nearly felt but never seen. I believe, keep in mind I've got no proof on me. I believe love must be everything.
You might even be able to guess, but Believe was recorded very differently than Doubt. Rather than a stunning cathedral captured by a heap of Abbey Road borrowed microphones, Believe was recorded with a single mic that was placed right in the center of the messiest room I've ever set foot in, my daughter's playroom. Just piles of toys, and I just crouched down near the mic and recorded the guitar and voice together. And for any gear nerds out there, the microphone was the super compact and beautiful CM15 from Teenage Engineering. And I recorded it straight into my voice notes app on my phone. When I was thinking about where to record the song, I had all sorts of complex ideas. I was thinking maybe in the woods or in a different church or in a bar, and nothing felt quite right, and I felt kind of like I was overthinking it. So the moment that I finished writing the song, I just decided that the most honest place to record it was exactly where I was. And so I chose Lily and Iris's very messy playroom and just got straight to recording without any tests or comparisons and just kind of went for it. And recording the song that way just felt like the right feeling. It's a song about vulnerability and humility and faith, and so it felt right to record it as simply or unpretentiously as I could. Compared to any other song that I've written, this one is physically the hardest guitar song for me to play. And it's not because it's such a complicated song or that there's some massive guitar solo in it that I need to shred on. It is because it's a strange drop tuning and the chords stretch my fingers out a ton in a way that none of my other songs do. And I wrote it so that the chords that I'm playing always are sliding around the entire neck of the guitar, so it's always bouncing around. And there's also quite a bit of pressure required to bar some of the chords fully without them buzzing. All of that's kind of a weird thing to explain, but no matter how many times I play this song, it hurts and it cramps my hands, and it's just very uncomfortable. And I liked that metaphor for faith. Sometimes what we believe requires us to stretch our imaginations to be okay with the uncomfortable. And as I said, doubt is a far easier experience to come by. So I wrote that song with simple guitar chords in standard tuning, and all of the chords sort of stay within a few frets. But Belief requires work. It's all over the map, and it's messy. And so I wrote this song with that in mind. Throughout this song, you'll hear glimmers of strings weaving in and out, all of which were played and recorded again by my dear friend and just wonderful human, Sharon Gerber. I've talked about this before, but Sharon and I have worked together for a long while now, all the way back to my song Saturn and even before. And so for well over a decade now. And because I'm not a classically trained musician, I don't actually know how to read or write traditional music charts or notes. And so over the years, as I've written and worked on string parts and ideas, I've learned to communicate them in all sorts of different ways. Sometimes I record string sounds on a keyboard, playing exactly what I want the real strings to play. Sometimes I send piano chords and I'll tell Sharon I want the strings to play sustained versions of those chords. Sometimes I will explain an idea and she'll just run with it. Other times I will sing individual string parts just with my voice, which is something I've been doing a lot of lately. I call it voice strings, and I overdub myself singing the cello lines, viola, and violin lines, imitating those instruments with oohs and ahs. And I love this way of getting the arrangements pulled together because it very quickly gets my ideas down and can demonstrate the dynamics of each line that I'm hoping for. It also shows kind of how I'm imagining the entrances of each instrument and the vibrato that I'm hoping for, which is harder to do with MIDI or with keyboards without a lot of programming. So for this song, Believe, I sent Sharon a heap of voice string parts, along with a message explaining the idea of the strings sort of playing this role of heaven or the divine in this song. Little vignettes of hope that swell in and out throughout the song. Again, I'm sort of thinking of the strings here as the highlighter pen, highlighting certain lyrics and moments in this song. And so here's a bit of what I sent Sharon. And here is what Sharon so beautifully recorded and sent back. And here's some examples of moments in the song where a certain lyric is highlighted by the strings. Again, the idea here is that the strings are sort of playing the role of heaven or the divine or just hope throughout this song. In this first example, the strings make their entrance in the song on the word mystery. They subtly swell in. And then the following lyric, ever unfolding before death, the lyrics do a bit of unfolding in the melody and then quickly die out right before the word death.
Thank God for this mystery, ever unfolding before death.
Another example of this is later in the song on the word eternity. I wanted that to feel like the biggest swell in the song. And so right here, not only are there strings swelling in, but there's also a bunch of overdubs of me singing and this kind of choral part that only happens in this moment of the song on the word eternity.
Like one day I'll meet eternity, and my mother's there waiting for me.
That line right there, one day I'll meet eternity, and my mother's there waiting for me. That line has such an ache to it for me personally, and it's an ache that I'm actually grateful for, even if it is painful to sing. I've been sharing this song live for the last 6 months, and that line always kind of gets stuck in my throat. But in writing these two songs about my faith, asking myself, what is it that I believe? It forces me to confront the biggest loss that I've ever experienced in my life, which was the death of my mom a few years ago. In losing her, in remembering some of our last conversations together in the hospital, we talked about faith, and all of this has had a profound impact on my faith that I'm still trying to wrap my head around and name and understand. In some ways, losing my mom deepened my faith and my belief in an afterlife and who God is. In another way, the anger and the deep sadness made me feel a bitterness that I still wrestle with, which can feel like it constricts my faith. And if I had to put it all into very simple words, which is what I tried to do actually in both of these songs, I think I've come out of that experience broken open in a new way, where my faith is far bigger than it ever was, but also so much more uncertain. And I feel like the best way to say it would be that it is just, I feel opened up in a way that I have never felt in my life, which I think is a beautiful thing. I think it's a good thing. And that uncertainty, I think, is reverence. It is the acknowledgement that I have no idea about any of these huge spiritual questions, afterlife, God, why we're here. And I believe more than ever that whatever it all is far greater than my imagination is capable of. And I find a lot of hope in that. Over the years, in conversations with friends, I've stood on my little soapbox and I've said that when it comes to huge spiritual or theological ideas, or really anything to do with God, I ask myself a very simple question. Does this idea make God bigger or smaller? If it makes God smaller or is limiting, it can't be true. Now, I'm sure far smarter people than me have said something similar or better, or could just tell you why that's not a very good lens to hold up your faith to. But I still find that simple question to be helpful for me as I navigate my complex feelings about God, especially in the aftermath of losing my mom. A lot of this is what I was trying to name in these lyrics.
I believe in a number of uncertainties, like one day I will be redeemed. I'm briefly stuck here in between. Oh, I believe in the limits of what I can perceive, in the absolute of sacred things, nearly felt but never seen.
I talked about this at length in other episodes, but I went through a really difficult couple years of health anxiety after my mom passed, where I became obsessively and deeply afraid that every neutral sensation in my body was something terrible. It was just like this mistrust. And I wanted to put reference to it in the song because it felt like such a pressure point in my faith. So that's what this line is about.
Thank God for this body, though it's not quite convinced it's alive.
At first, when I set out to write these two songs, I had an incredibly unrealistic intention of being able to fit everything I think and believe into them. In reality, these two songs barely scratch the surface of my faith. Both songs, to my surprise, came together fairly easily and without much fight. In fact, Believe was written in a little over 24 hours, which is so rare for me. And I think that that's partly because I absolutely love examining my faith, but I think it's mostly because there's just a lot I have to say and that I want to explore. So I will be trying to put a finger on what I believe in for as long as I'm writing songs. And I feel so grateful and proud of these two brushstrokes. And even though these songs barely scratch the surface, the very last lyric of Believe is my best attempt from this vantage point in my life at putting a finger on what it is that I believe.
I believe. Keep in mind, I've got no proof on me. I believe. Love must be everything.
Thank you so much for listening and for being curious about my songs. It means so much to me to get to share how all of it came together. There's something about walking back through and pointing out some of the meaning behind what I did that helps me have a bit of closure with each song. And I think it does a little bit of good in me. So thank you so much for that and for letting me ramble on about it all. I really, really appreciate it. Both songs, Believe and Doubt, are everywhere music is. Links will be in the show notes, of course. And I'm so excited to make the next episode, which is going to be all about my song inspired by the Greek love Pragma. I so look forward to speaking to you soon or seeing you in person. I'm playing at the Ryman in Nashville on October 20th and November 29th at Auditorium in Chicago with the Chicago Philharmonic. Also, in 2026, in February, I will be playing a full orchestra show in Florida. I'll be announcing that very, very soon, and I can't wait to see you. All right, thank you so much again for listening. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.